McKinsey & Company is a worldwide management consulting firm. It conducts qualitative and quantitative analysis in order to evaluate management decisions across the public and private sectors. Widely considered the most prestigious management consultancy, McKinsey's clientele includes 80% of the world's largest corporations, and an extensive list of governments and non-profit organizations. More current and former Fortune 500 C.E.O.s are alumni of McKinsey than of any other company, a list including Google C.E.O. Sundar Pichai, Facebook C.E.O. Sheryl Sandberg, Morgan Stanley C.E.O. James P. Gorman, and many more. McKinsey publishes the McKinsey Quarterly, funds the McKinsey Global Institute Research Organization, publishes reports on management topics, and has authored many influential books on management. Its practices of confidentiality, influence on business practices, and corporate culture have experienced a polarizing reception. McKinsey was founded in 1926 by James McKinsey in order to apply accounting principles to management. McKinsey died in 1937, and the firm was restructured several times, with the modern-day McKinsey & Company emerging in 1939. Marvin Bower is credited with establishing McKinsey's culture and practices in the 1930s based on the principles he experienced as a lawyer. The firm developed an up or out policy, where consultants who are not promoted are asked to leave. McKinsey was the first management consultancy to hire recent college graduates, rather than experienced managers. In the 1980s and 1990s, the firm expanded internationally and established new practice areas. It had 88 staff in 1951 and 7,700 by the early 2000s. McKinsey's consulting has helped to establish many of the norms in business and contributed to many of the major successes and failures in business. In the modern era, Early history McKinsey & Company was founded under the name James O. McKinsey & Company in 1926 by James McKinsey, a professor of accounting at the University of Chicago. He conceived the idea after witnessing inefficiencies in military supplies while working for the U.S. Army Ordnance Department. The firm called itself an accounting and management firm, and started out giving consulting on using accounting principles as a management tool. Mr. McKinsey's first partners were Tom Kearney, hired in 1929, and Marvin Bower, hired in 1933. In its first few years, the firm grew quickly and began developing rapport among corporations. Its second office was opened in New York City in 1932. In 1935, Mr. McKinsey left the firm temporarily to serve as the chairman and CEO of Client Marshall Fields as it implemented the restructuring plan created by his firm. McKinsey was merged with accounting firm Scoville, Wellington & Company that same year, creating the New York-based McKinsey, Wellington & Co., and splitting off the accounting practice into Chicago-based Wellington & Company, a Wellington project that accounted for 55% of McKinsey, Wellington & Company's billings was about to expire, and Kearney and Bower had disagreements about how to run the firm. Bower wanted to expand nationally and hire young business school graduates, whereas Kearney wanted to stay in Chicago and hire experienced accountants. Additionally, in 1937 James O. McKinsey died after catching pneumonia. This led to the division of McKinsey, Wellington & Company in 1939. The accounting practice returned to Scoville, Wellington & Company, while the management engineering practice was split into McKinsey & Company and McKinsey, Kearney & Company. Bower had partnered with Guy Crockett from Scoville, Wellington, who were invested in the new McKinsey & Company and became managing partner. while Marvin Bower is credited with founding the firm's principles and strategy as his deputy. The New York office purchased exclusive rights to the McKinsey name in 1946. Establishment McKinsey & Company grew quickly in the 1940s and 50s, especially in Europe. It had 88 staff in 1951 and more than 200 by the 1960s, including 37 in London by 1966. In the same year, McKinsey had 6 offices in major U.S. cities like San Francisco, Los Angeles and Washington, D.C., as well as 6 abroad. These foreign offices were primarily in Europe, such as in London, Paris, Amsterdam, as well as in Melbourne. By this time, 1/3 of the company's revenues originated from its European offices. Guy Crockett stepped down as managing director in 1950, and Marvin Bower was elected in his place. McKinsey's profit-sharing, executive and planning committees were formed in 1951. The organization's client base expanded, especially among governments, defense contractors, blue-chip companies and military organizations in the post-World War II era. After 7 years of consideration, McKinsey became a private corporation with shares owned exclusively by McKinsey employees in 1956. After Bower stepped down in 1967, the firm's revenues declined. New competitors like the Boston Consulting Group and Bain & Company created increased competition for McKinsey by marketing specific branded products, such as the Growth Share Matrix, and by selling their industry expertise. In 1971, McKinsey created the Commission on Firm Aims and Goals, which found that McKinsey had become too focused on geographic expansion and lacked adequate industry knowledge. The Commission advised that McKinsey slow its growth and develop industry specialties. In 1976, Ron Daniel was elected managing director, serving until 1988. Daniel and Fred Gluck helped shift the firm away from its generalist approach by developing 15 specialized working groups within McKinsey called centers of competence, and by developing practice areas called strategy, operations and organization. Daniel also began McKinsey's knowledge management efforts in 1987. This led to the creation of an IT system that tracked McKinsey engagements, a process to centralize knowledge from each practice area, and a resource directory of internal experts. By the end of his tenure in 1988, the firm was growing again and had opened new offices in Rome, Helsinki, Sao Paulo and Minneapolis. Fred Gluck served as McKinsey's managing director from 1988 to 1994. The firm's revenues doubled during his tenure. He organized McKinsey into 72 islands of activity that were organized under 7 sectors and 7 functional areas. By 1997, McKinsey had grown 8-fold over its size in 1977. In 1989, the firm attempted to make a talent acquisition in IT services through a $10 million purchase of the information consulting group, but a culture clash caused 151 out of the 254 ICG staff members to leave by 1993. Recent history: further expansion. In 1994, Rajat Gupta became the first non-American-born partner to be elected as the firm's managing director. By the end of his tenure, McKinsey had grown from 2,900 to 7,700 staff and 58 to 84 locations. He opened new international offices in cities such as Moscow, Beijing and Bangkok. continuing the structure developed by prior directors. Gupta also created 16 industry groups charged with understanding specific markets and instituted a 3-term limit for the managing director. McKinsey created practice areas for manufacturing and business technology in the late 1990s. McKinsey set up accelerators in the 1990s, where the firm accepted stock-based reimbursement to help internet startups. The company performed more than 1,000 e-commerce projects from 1998 to 2000 alone. The burst of the dot-com bubble led to a reduction in utilization rates of McKinsey's consultants from 64 to 52%, though McKinsey avoided dismissing any personnel following the decline. The decline in revenues and losses from equity-based payments as stock interests lost the value, together with the recession in 2001, meant the company had to reduce its prices, cut expenses and reduce hiring. In 2001, McKinsey launched several practices that focused on the public and social sector. It took on many public sector and non-profit clients on a pro bono basis. By 2002, McKinsey had invested a $35.8 million budget on knowledge management, up from $8.3 million in 1999. Its revenues were 50, 20 and 30% from strategy, operations and technology consulting respectively. In 2003, Ian Davis, the head of the London, UK office, was elected to the position of managing director. Davis promised to return to the company's core values, after a period in which the firm had expanded rapidly, which some McKinsey consultants felt was a departure from the company's heritage. Also in 2003, the firm established a headquarters for the Asia-Pacific region in Shanghai, China. By 2004, more than 60% of McKinsey's revenues were generated outside the U.S. The company started a social sector office in 2008, which is divided into 3 practices: global public health, economic development and opportunity creation, and philanthropy. McKinsey does much of its pro bono work through the SSO, whereas a business technology office, founded in 1997, provides consulting on technology strategy. By 2009, the firm consisted of 400 directors, up from 151 in 1993. Dominic Barton was elected as managing director, a role he was re-elected for in 2012 and 2015. Galleon insider trading scandal. Former McKinsey senior executives, Rajat Gupta and Anil Kumar, were among those convicted in a government investigation into insider trading for sharing inside information with Galleon Group hedge fund owner Raj Rajaratnam. Though McKinsey was not accused of any wrongdoing, the convictions were embarrassing for the firm, since it prides itself for integrity and client confidentiality. Following the initial allegations, McKinsey no longer maintains a relationship with either senior partner, though the manner in which it severed ties attracted controversy. Senior partner Anil Kumar, described as Gupta's protege, left the firm after the allegations in 2009 and pleaded guilty in January 2010. While he and other partners had been pitching McKinsey's consulting services to the Galleon Group, Kumar and Rajaratnam reached a private consulting agreement, violating McKinsey's policies on confidentiality. Gupta was convicted in June 2012 of 4 counts of conspiracy and securities fraud, and acquitted on 2 counts. In October 2011, he was arrested by the FBI on on criminal charges of sharing insider information from these confidential board meetings with Rajaratnam. At least twice, Gupta used a McKinsey phone to call Rajaratnam and retained other perks, an office assistant, and $6 million retirement salary that year as a senior partner emeritus. After the scandal, McKinsey instituted new policies and procedures to discourage future indiscretions from consultants, including investigating other partners' ties to Gupta. Organization structure. McKinsey & Company was originally organized as a partnership before being legally restructured as a private corporation with shares owned by its partners in 1956. It mimics the structure of a partnership, and employees are called partners. The company has a flat hierarchy and each member is assigned a mentor. Since the 1960s, McKinsey's managing director has been elected by a vote of senior directors to serve up to three-year terms or until reaching the mandatory retirement age of 60. The firm is also managed by a series of committees that each has its own area of responsibility. McKinsey has a decentralized structure, whereby different offices operate similarly, but independently. Each office is expected to put the overall organization's best interest before the offices, which McKinsey refers to as the one firm principle. Consultants and engagements are often shared across offices. Revenues from all offices are pooled, and an individual officer's revenue does not directly affect it financially. The company's budgeting is centralized, but individual consultants are given a large degree of autonomy. McKinsey consultants are either industry experts, functional experts, or generalists that cover specific geographic regions. The firm has 23 industry practices focused on individual industries, 9 functional practices that work in areas like finance, marketing or risk, and 5 capabilities and solutions areas related to technology consulting. Culture. Marvin Bower is credited with creating McKinsey's values and principles in 1937. He established a set of rules that consultants should put the interests of clients before McKinsey's revenues, not discuss client affairs, tell the truth even if it means challenging the client's opinion, and only perform work that is both necessary and that McKinsey can do well. Bower created the firm's principle of only working with C.E.O.s, which was later expanded to C.E.O.s of subsidiaries and divisions. He also created McKinsey's principle of only working with clients the firm felt would follow its advice. Bower also established the firm's language. McKinsey calls itself the firm, and its employees members. McKinsey says its consultants are not motivated by money. McKinsey & Company tries to keep a very low-profile public image. The firm has a policy against discussing specific client situations. The firm says it does not advertise, though it did advertise allegedly for recruitment purposes in Time magazine in 1966. Members are not supposed to sell the services. McKinsey's consultants are expected to become a part of the community and recruit clients from church, charitable foundations, board positions and other community involvements. A 1993 profile story in Fortune magazine said McKinsey & Company was the most well-known, most secretive, most high-priced, most prestigious, most consistently successful, most envied, most trusted, most disliked management consulting firm on earth. Quote, according to Business Week, the firm is ridiculed, reviled, or revered depending on one's perspective. McKinsey's culture has often been compared to religion. because of the influence, loyalty and zeal of its members. Fortune magazine said partners talk to each other with a sense of personal affection and admiration. An article in the News Observer said McKinsey's internal culture was collegiate and ruthlessly competitive, and has been described as arrogant. The Wall Street Journal said McKinsey is seen as elite, loyal and secretive. According to Reuters, it has a button-down culture focused on playing by the rules. According to Businessweek, some consultants say the firm has strayed from its original values as it increased in size. The Guardian said at McKinsey, hours are long, expectations high and failure not acceptable. Influence. Many of McKinsey's alumni become CEOs of major corporations or hold important government positions. In doing so, they influence the other organization with McKinsey's values and culture. McKinsey's alumni have been appointed as CEOs or high-level executives at Google, American Express, IBM, Westinghouse Electric, Sears, at and Trampe, PepsiCo, and Enron. McKinsey alumni have held positions with Tony Blair's office. Citicorp and Merrill Lynch have also hired many McKinsey alumni. As of 2008, McKinsey alumni held CEO positions with 16 corporations that have more than $2 billion in revenue. The firm was ranked by USA Today as the most likely company to work for and become a future CEO of a major corporation, with odds of 1 out of 690. McKinsey's consulting work has also been influential in establishing many of the norms of how governments and corporations are run. The company has been influential in the British Department of Health for many years and was heavily involved in the discussions around the Health and Social Care Act 2012. Consulting services. McKinsey & Company provides management consulting services, such as providing advice on an acquisition, developing a plan to restructure a sales force, creating a new business strategy, or providing advice on downsizing. Its consultants design and implement studies to evaluate management decisions using data and interviews to test hypotheses. Conclusions of the study are presented to senior management, typically in a PowerPoint presentation and a booklet. McKinsey is considered one of the most prestigious and most expensive management consulting firms. In Dangerous Company, journalists James O'Shea and Charles Madigan said McKinsey is the most influential, most reputable management consulting firm in the industry and that it carries the most weight with corporate boards. The News Observer said McKinsey is the crème de la crème and the Rolls-Royce of management consulting. Between 2002 and 2014, McKinsey has been ranked in the #1 position of the Branch Internal, the best consulting firms. Prestige to work for list by Vault.com. McKinsey & Company has traditionally charged approximately 25% more than competing firms with an average project of $1 million. Prices were reduced in the economic slump following the dot-com bubble. According to the Globe and Mail, McKinsey clients estimate that the firm's advice turns out to be poor in retrospect about 10 to 20% of the time. A typical McKinsey engagement can last between 2 and 12 months and involves 3 to 6 McKinsey consultants. An engagement is usually managed by a generalist that covers the region the client's headquarters are located in and specialists that have either an industry or functional expertise. Unlike some competing consulting firms, McKinsey does not hold a policy against working for multiple competing companies. This has sometimes led to accusations of sharing confidential information or repackaging a competitor's tactics as best practices. Environmental consulting. Marginal abatement cost curves attempt to compare the financial costs of different options for reducing pollution in a region and are used in emissions trading, policy discussions and incentive programs. McKinsey & Company released its first marginal abatement cost curve for greenhouse gas emissions in February 2007, which was updated to version 2 in January 2009. McKinsey & Company's MAC curve has become the most widely used and is the basis for McKinsey's consulting on climate change and sustainability. McKinsey's curve predicts negative cost abatement strategies, which has been controversial among economists. The International Association for Energy Economics said in the Energy Journal that McKinsey's cost curve was popular among policymakers because it suggests they can take bold action towards improving energy efficiency without imposing costs on society. In a 2010 report, the Rainforest Foundation UK said McKinsey's cost curve methodology was misleading for policy decisions regarding the reduced emissions from deforestation and forest degradation program. The report argued that McKinsey's calculations exclude certain implementation and governance costs, which makes it favor industrial uses of forests while discouraging subsistence projects. Greenpeace said the curve has allowed Indonesia and Guyana to win financial incentives from the United Nations by creating inflated estimates of current deforestation so they could demonstrate reductions in comparison. McKinsey said they had made it clear in the cost curve publications that cost curves do not translate mechanically into policy implications and that policymakers should consider many other factors before introducing new laws. Recruiting and compensation. McKinsey & Company was the first management consultancy to hire recent graduates instead of experienced business managers, when it started doing so in 1953. Many of its recruits are Baker Scholars, Rhodes Scholars, Marshall Scholars, Gates Cambridge Scholars, or White House Fellows. Less than half of the firm's recruits are from business majors, while others have advanced degrees in science, medicine, engineering or law. Prestigious business colleges may have McKinsey consultants assigned to cultivating relationships with upcoming graduates. According to The Observer, McKinsey recruits recent graduates and imbues them with a religious conviction in the firm, then culls through them with its up or out policy. The up or out policy, which was established in 1951, means that consultants that are not being promoted within the firm are asked to leave. About 1/5 of McKinsey's consultants depart under the up or out policy each year. McKinsey's practice of hiring recent graduates and the up or out philosophy were originally based on Marvin Bower's experiences at the law firm Jones Day in the 1930s, as well as the Cravath system used at the law firm Cravath, Swaine and Moore. According to Financial Times journalist Duff McDonald, as of September 2013, the firm receives 225,000 employment applications annually and about 1%, or 2,200, of the applicants are hired. There is an ongoing debate within the firm on how fast it should grow. According to a report by Wetfeed, McKinsey offers some of the best experience, opportunity and professional development in the industry, and it is prestigious to have McKinsey on a resume. However, it said the work environment is demanding, involving extensive travel and long hours. Consulting Magazine's 2007 list of best consulting firms to work for ranked McKinsey as number 3. New undergraduate McKinsey recruits are paid about $80,000 a year, while senior partners are estimated to earn $1.3 million or more. According to Fortune magazine, some McKinsey staff earn more than the CEOs they consult.